What's a dark side of martial arts that a lot of people don't understand, that you've been through it?
The dark side. Mine immediately comes into just the sacrifice and the hard work, and a lot of people who tell me they want to go pro, they want to go pro. I feel like they don't understand how difficult it is, you know.
What is like the most difficult part about that sacrifice from your experience?
Well, financial aspect, you're not supposed to, you're not really working, or maybe you might have a side job, and you're trying to put in 5-6 days of training per week. So not only are you going to work, you're going to train every day, sometimes twice a day. So there's that sacrifice. Are you married? Do you have a kid? Are you in school? How old are you? All that stuff. There's a lot to take into consideration. I think that's the dark side. They think it's very easy. It's easy to go pro, right? To take your license and just to go and compete, even in amateurs. But they don't understand how difficult it is, I think, to sacrifice,
What is like the most common trait you've seen with the people that actually go there and make it?
You need the talent. You need a little bit of luck, right? There's a timing and everything as well. So like proper management. You need to have good fights, good wins, a good team. And the timing, I think, is really the most important one, really. It's not just how well you do in the competitions. You really got to sell tickets. I went back to the sacrifice, so you got to go back and put a lot of time into it. And the guys who have like that common trait, they really want it and they do it. It's not for just the money. The money is always secondary. That comes afterwards, I think.
So they do it for the game?
They do it for the game, yeah, and they have nothing else to do, right? That's it. That's all they want to do, and they just push forward.
I see.
Yeah. How
did you even get into this martial arts and the fighting industry?
My parents took me at a young age, so I went into since the age of 4. I was in karate, I was in wushu, so I started off at that, and then later on it just progressed to something more serious. So I started competing in Muay Thai, kickboxing, and then later on boxing, and then progressed into wrestling and mixed martial arts. Yeah.
What was the one that really got you like in love with this martial arts? The one sport?
I would say karate, definitely karate. We had at the time ours was full contact, so it was more of it involved a lot of what we see now in MMA. So it was takedowns, groundwork, punching, kicking. We were learning clinching and knees, so it was very similar to mixed martial arts. So that really got me into it. And then when MMA blew up, that's where everyone was going towards.
Let's just say someone who has like no like martial arts experience and they want to start with one sport that's going to actually be the most transferable to, let's just say, MMA. What would you recommend?
Transferable, like for self-defense wise, or it depends on
competition, MMA competition.
It depends. So if people who want to do MMA, I always tell them, well, you either have to have a ground, you have to have 2 different backgrounds. Either you're a striker or you're the wrestler, right? Or you're just an all-around average fighter. So a lot of people either do jiu-jitsu and then they go into Muay Thai kickboxing and they learn striking that way, or they might have like a striking foundation, like a Muay Thai kickboxing foundation, and then they pick up the wrestling and the grappling like I did. So it really depends. I think you should probably learn wrestling. You definitely need to have a strong wrestling background, and then have a good Muay Thai kickboxing kind of background as well.
Which one is the most applicable to, let's just say, a street fight?
A street fight?
Yeah.
Ooh, I would say either boxing or Muay Thai kickboxing. Yeah, because boxing, first of all, you're limited because if you only got your hands. Judo and all that stuff, I think it's out the door. Judo, you're practicing with the gi. Jiu-jitsu, you're practicing with the gi most of the time. And then you don't want to take the fight to the ground, right? So when people say self-defense in the street, well, you might be facing more than one person, right? You might be fighting 2 people. So the fight starts on your feet.
Yeah.
You don't really want to fight on the concrete. So if it does end up there, then yeah, obviously anyone who has a jiu-jitsu background definitely has the advantage. But the fight starts on the feet, so if you have a solid boxing or even kicking or clinching close distance fighting background, then I think you have an upper hand. So I always say like kickboxing or boxing first. Judo and all that, they're all interesting. Even wrestling, you can definitely apply wrestling in street fights, but I think you need a good striking background, especially for self-defense in the streets.
I see, makes sense. You said you've done a lot of competitions, a lot of fights in the past.
Yeah.
What was like one habit that you always did to prepare yourself for those fights?
I didn't really have like a habit. It's not like that. I had to do something to feel like I was fully prepared. I think as long as I was in camp and I knew I did a solid training, right? I did my training every day and I listened to my coaches and I knew I was ready. It's not like I had to. I wasn't superstitious at all. Like if I didn't sleep well one night or I had to go do a prayer here or something. I never really thought twice about that. So that was.
So you were all about the training, and as long as your training went well, everything.
As long as my training went well and I didn't get sick or a week or two before the fight, then I thought I was fully prepared. There was nothing else to think about.
Got it. Like, what's something that a lot of people don't know about preparing for the fights that nobody really talks about?
A simple one is running. People don't know that you also have to be like a professional runner. So you have to run a lot. That's the one thing. So besides just fighting, sparring, hitting bags, and doing all that training, you have to also do a lot of running. Good diet, right? Most of the time you're cooking your own food, or maybe you have someone who does the cooking for you. So you have to have a good diet, good eating plan. The weight loss is a big problem. That's a whole other battle on its own, right? Making sure you're on weight. I've always been fine when it comes to that, but I had teammates who had a hard time losing weight. So that's another difficult part.
What do you think some people struggle with the weight loss aspect? Is it like just their body's a bit different, or?
There's this thing about being like the weight bully. So if you're weighing 160, you want to fight 140 or like 15 to 20, 25 pounds lighter. So you really have to dehydrate yourself. And there's this way to do it, this proper way of first hydrating yourself and then slowly eliminating salts. And there's this whole different, if you don't know how to do that, it's going to be very difficult, especially if you're already at a much overweight than where you have to fight.
What was like a lesson that you learned from, competing from all the fights? Something that stuck with you, like, even to this day?
That there's always room to grow, always room to learn. That's probably it. Yeah, because no matter how well, there's no matter how well you think you are, there's always room to learn. So even if you're an instructor, you're going to learn from your students. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I see.
Yeah.
Did you learn the most from wins or losses?
No, definitely losses. You definitely lose from losses.
Why?
Why? You review your videos, right? You review your fights. It makes you want to train harder, right? You don't want to lose anymore in the future, so you definitely want to do better. I think so. That's why.
Why is there like a huge emphasis on like this no loss records and stuff? From your perspective, you feel like it's just for
I think that's
the image?
I think that's usually more for like boxing nowadays.
Yeah.
I think boxing. Yeah. I'm not too deeply like informed in all that, but it probably has to do with the whole Mayweather. The whole Mayweather picture, when it comes to that, right? You want a clean, solid record. That doesn't apply too much in like mixed martial arts, but that definitely in boxing. I think people just want, that 10-0, 11-0, 12-0, and then just building the record. That's more for boxing.
I see. Do you feel like there's a beauty in, taking defeats at some point and learning from them rather than just having this perfect record, or you feel like just being that unbeatable guy, that has no defeats is better?
It definitely looks nicer whenever you're undefeated, but it also depends on how you fight, who you fought, right? That all matters. If you're 100-0 and you fought like, people who don't have any background in fighting, then what's the point?
Absolutely.
But if you fought solid people, then I think that's a much more stronger resume.
What do you tell your like students whenever like they come in, like they have no idea what's going on? What's like the first lesson you always have in your mind to tell them?
Baby steps. Everything's baby steps. Take it slow. Take it one day at a time. Trust the process. Don't think the first day you're going to come in here and put gloves on and hit the bag and do sparring and all that. Your first 2 days, you're probably not going to wear gloves at all. So I always tell them that the first time, when they come in. You're going to learn the footwork. You're going to learn the foundation of boxing, or whether it's kickboxing, how to punch, how to kick, how to slip, all that baby step, the foundation, your alphabet. Once you get that down, and then you'll progress to putting on gloves and then working with partners. So I always give them that heads up because they think I'm going to come in here, I'm going to start boxing. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Why do you think having that foundation is so important?
Well, if you don't have a strong foundation, you're not going to be able to really do anything, right? If you don't know how to move on your feet, then how are you going to punch? How are you going to kick?
Do you feel like martial arts is more of a mental game or a physical game?
It has to do with both, but I would say it's more mental. Definitely more mental. You can be physically prepared as much as you want, physically prepared, but if you're just not there, you're not in the right mind, you're definitely not gonna. You're not prepared at all, right?
You mean like more of like the mindset aspect, or just you reading, how the other person moves and analyzing it as the fight goes on?
It's not just the mental part when you have to analyze your opponent. It's more for like yourself, right? So if you don't feel relaxed, if you don't feel mentally ready, You might be physically ready, your endurance might be there, but if you're just not confident, maybe you're just if you're very anxious, you're very nervous, that mental is just gonna take over, right? So once you step into the ring, if like I'm talking about competition wise, then you're probably not you're gonna feel very nervous and you're not gonna feel prepared. So if you're not mentally there, it's just gonna make you, it's not gonna help you at all.
What's like a step that you feel like people should do? Let's just say they have a fight, they want to relax, or they want to be more calm. What do you recommend usually?
Take deep breaths. Yeah, take deep breaths first of all. Listen to your coach, and then the rest of it you just have to do it, right? There's nothing else you can do in the moment before the fight. I had a guy who wanted to take 2 5-hour energy shots right before, and he's like, "Coach, can I do this?" I'm like, "No, you can't."
Really?
Yeah. So I have guys who want to do prayers, guys who want to switch corners, like all this superstitious stuff, or if they're not in a red corner, they think they're gonna lose. So all that stuff. I think you just need to take a deep breath and just there's nothing else you can do. Listen to your coach, take a deep breath, and just do it.
Focus on the fight.
Yeah,
actually.
focus on the fight, man.
Okay. What's like a common mistake that you feel like you've seen with the people that just come into your gym that they make? Something that you feel like you gotta always let them know, like, this is wrong, don't do this. That's the most repetitive.
I think they just wanna move too fast. I think they think they're gonna see results much quicker than they really think. Everything takes time. I think that's like probably the biggest, like the common trait that I see in everyone that's a beginner. They come here and they think the first day they're gonna see a lot of results, and all they did was move back and forth and left and right. So I think that's probably one of the biggest common things I see.
So they're in a rush to kind of skip the process, the foundation.
Yeah, definitely. They just want to wear the gloves and just move forward. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I see.
Outside of the skills and the technique aspect with the martial arts, how do you handle the physical aspect of training? Like, weights, strength training?
Over here we do a lot of like calisthenics, so everything focused on like boxing or kickboxing, strength training. So we don't really go to like a fitness gym and do heavy lifting, right? We want to condition our bodies a little differently. So we don't lift too heavy here. So everything we do here is mostly calisthenics focused. So like you're lifting your own body weight type of thing, push-ups, sit-ups. And my weights that I have over here, there's like the maximum thing I have is like 25 pounds, 30 pounds. So we don't want to do too heavy.
I see.
Yeah.
How important is it to actually have a strong body for martial arts, with the training weights, strength training, calisthenics?
It's definitely important. I think you need a strong core. I think that's probably one of the biggest things, because everything comes from that inner core, right? If you don't have a good stability, like the balance, your core is not strong enough. You're not gonna have a good balance. You're not gonna have a good power output. So I think that's very important. The core, I think, is probably one of your most important things, not your biceps or your triceps. You
told me you went through like a serious injury.
Yeah.
And you had to stop MMA, right?
Yeah.
How did that affect you as a person, as a coach?
Going back to the mentally thing. So I was a coach at the time as well. It hurt seeing my teammates, train when I couldn't train. It was like 6 months I took out. I had a blood clot in my leg from wrestling and grappling. So that definitely delayed things. I was told I couldn't even, compete anymore, especially in mixed martial arts. I was dumb enough to go back into it like 7-8 months later and fight again. And then 2 years after that, I had another surgery for the same exact leg, and that's when I made the switch to boxing. So mentally, it hurt me a lot. Like psychologically, it just definitely it's a big problem in sports when you get injured, especially a big injury. It sets you back a lot. Am I able to compete anymore? Am I able to run again? Am I able to train again? So that goes back to that mental aspect. It definitely hurts you.
Athletes in different sports, they go through a lot of injuries. How did you deal with that?
It was very difficult. So I would, time was the biggest thing. I felt very depressed at the time. It was very difficult to move forward. Like I said, my other teammates were competing, nonstop training, and I would be at the gym, barely walking. I was going through rehab, I know, because I had a bypass surgery for my leg. So it was a very difficult recovery from that, especially after my second one. So it was just time.
So you're just saying whoever is going through injuries, just be patient,
Be patient, yeah, just do your therapy, whatever you need to, when it comes to physical therapy. Work out in different ways. So if it's your leg, work out your upper body if you can, if you're not limited, and vice versa. And just stick to your game plan, take it one day at a time. Yeah.
What was the biggest lesson you learned from that situation? of basically kind of having to stop, pursuing your, MMA goals?
That's a good question. I think the biggest lesson would have to be like you have to be able to adapt, right? Just like your life. So if you had, for me, I had to completely change my game plan, and it just took me on a whole different journey in life. I went from mixed martial arts to boxing, thinking I could go into Olympics. I was almost there. And when that didn't happen, then you just kept having to adapt. So then you had to have different game plans, different plans in mind, like a plan B and a plan C. So when that happened, I was like, man, this is all I knew how to do. So now I got to do boxing. And when that didn't happen, then you have to adapt. I think that was my biggest lesson.
How's it been running a gym for you?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So even though we have classes at just 9 a.m., 3 days a week, and then evening classes every day from 5 to 9:30. It may not seem like a lot of hours, but I'm probably putting like 15 hours of work every day. I'm coming in here. I'm the janitor, right? I'm the coach. I'm the manager. I'm a student here as well. I'm learning from, it's a give and take relationship from my students, from my coaches. It's just a lot of work in a good way.
Has it been difficult for you to kind of transition from, an athlete, a coach, to more of a businessman?
Oh yeah, it's definitely challenging. I hate being on my phone. I have my phones on me all the time, so I hate being on my phone. There's that social network. I have to be on media all the time, on Instagram, posting videos, running the classes, right? So there's just a lot of that. I think that's like the challenging part about it. Being on the phone all the time and talking to people. Obviously, you're engaging with new people. You're trying to convince them to come to your gym. Even though they really want to come to your gym, they called you for some reason, right? They called you for specifically, someone referred you or referred them. So there's a lot of challenging parts when it comes to being the business owner.
So I'm assuming as you were running the business, you had to kind of learn as you were going, right?
Definitely. It's still a learning process. Yeah. It's definitely still a learning process. And I feel like I'm getting better every day, so yeah.
Oh, I love to hear that.
Yeah, we don't have the biggest gym here either. So we're only like 1,800 square feet. So when people see that, they come in and they see the amount of work that comes out. They really like that,
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because a lot of people try to focus way too much on the sales. They're like, oh, where can I get the next sale, the next sale, the next sale? Or, marketing, they have to do these crazy videos and editing, but they forget the foundation. The foundation is what kind of service do you provide for people? How do you deliver it? Is it even good? Are people fulfilled,
Right. I think another thing to kind of piggyback on is over here, it's not like I got the place just because it was a business, right? I got it because, first of all, I wanted my own gym to come and work out myself. That's really why I got it. And I was kind of leaving this whole toxic field of working with other people. It's my own gym now. I can kind of work out over here. And it's your passion of teaching, right? It's not the business itself. It's the passion of teaching people, teaching students, having them come in and work out. And whenever you have that passion, and when the kids see that, or even the adults, they instantly can read your body language, right? That you really like to teach, and there's a reason why you're in it.
Yeah.
The rest of it is just so much easier. They just, then they stick with you. They trust you. That's like the biggest thing, and not the business.
Absolutely. Yeah, one thing that you mentioned was like whenever people see how you handle, the whole operation, the way you train people, the way you, run the gym, it's like they see, okay, this guy is actually about it,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How important is it to be passionate about what you do, because I've heard a different variety of answers that some people say, you don't have to necessarily be passionate about anything. You just have to get good at it, just show up for it. And some people say, no, you have to love what you do. Where do you stand on that?
I think you have to be fully invested in it. You definitely have to be passionate about whatever you do. You have to be fully invested in it. You can't be in there 50-50.
Is that how the obsession comes from your perspective? Just being obsessed with being better and better and better?
It does. I mean, when I come into here, like in the gym, I don't find this as a work. I come in here and I feel like it's just. When I come here to teach, it doesn't feel like a job to me at all. It just makes it so much easier. My job feels so much easier when I'm in here. And the time flies by so much faster, too, because we're doing so much work here. So it doesn't feel like a job to me. When you're passionate about it, it just feels so much easier here, And you enjoy it.
Feels like play.
Yeah, it feels like play. You don't get burned out. you go in, you sweat with your kids, your students, you're working out with them, you're teaching them. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just a job for me.
100%. Yeah, I've heard that answer before, that, like, if you're invested like fully in what you're doing, time just doesn't exist. You're in that flow state constantly. You're getting things done. You're helping people. It just, time flies. And then, as you said, it doesn't feel like work. That's why, like, I noticed with the people that I also talked to from the previous podcast interviews, whenever you're like fully engaged into it, and whenever you're like passionate about it, then you just naturally put the most amount of work.
Yeah.
Even though you technically work harder, it doesn't feel like work. As you said, it feels like play. It feels like something that you actually love to be here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's how like you make the most amount of progress. Running this gym, I was like talking to you like off cam. You were saying like you wanna add another gym. Like what are like the logistics of like having a gym, like adding another gym? Like how's it like running a gym from that aspect?
Well, so far, I only have this gym here, so I can't speak, too much about that. Mm-hmm. I'm taking it just one day at a time, trying to see what I can do here. Who knows if there's going to be another, second through line or a bigger through line. I have my goals in mind. I've seen other gyms and how big they are, and I know what I want in the future. This is what I have right now, and this is what I'm grateful for, And I want to put the best work into it and produce the best results out of it too, when it comes to my students.
You were saying like, sometimes there's competitions here and there and you have to coach.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you've had students that they got results, they won, and you had students that, took L's or they had losses. How do you motivate the students that, took losses, and how do you keep the students that won, keep them on track for them to tell, like, not be cocky, to stay grounded?
How do I motivate them? They need to motivate themselves too.
Yeah.
I can't. There's some motivation. You can encourage them. You can motivate them as much as you can. But you just like that will. You can't. That spark. You can't teach that to somebody.
True.
I'm not gonna put a kid in there to fight if they don't have that spark, that will. So if I see that they don't have that, I'm not gonna. You gotta work it differently. Not every student here competes. Now the students who do lose, you have to definitely approach them a lot differently. You have to encourage them to do better. You got to make sure, first of all, they're not hurt. You got to make sure that they're still motivated, and if not, then just to encourage them to do better, right? Review their videos, review their fights, see what they did wrong. Sometimes it's not in their hands. Sometimes the judges just don't make a good decision. We had 2 or 3 fights that we fought like 2 weeks ago and we lost, and I could probably disagree with half of those, with what the judges saw. So it's not always on them.
Yeah.
And when they do win, they have to understand that there's more to go ahead. It's just part of the process. It's just part of the learning process. So just because you won doesn't mean that's it. You still got to do better. You got to improve. You got to see what you did wrong, what your flaws are, and just approach it that way.
100%. From my experience, whenever I've been to different gyms, there is like 2 different types of gyms. There's like a gym that, they only focus on the sports aspect, just the skills itself. And there's a gym that they make it like a family. They focus on, how they move in and out the gym, how they live. Where do you mainly focus on it? Do you feel like it's important to also focus on the outside of the gym lifestyle with like your students?
Definitely. I think both of it is important.
Yeah.
Keeping in touch with them inside and outside of them, whether they're a child or whether they're adult is very important. Yeah. I keep in touch with all my students here. They all have my cell phone number. I tell them, I'm very strict as a coach, and I'm very discipline is a big part here. So they always need to be in touch with me. If they can't make it to class, they know that they need to reach out to me. They need to tell me, hey, I can't coach, I can't make it today. This is what I have going on. I tell them they got to come out and support their friends. They all have to have each other's, contact information. We go hiking and stuff outside, as well. I just put a projector here in the gym so we can have movie nights, like fight nights and stuff. So I definitely plan on doing that in the future. So you got to have both of it, right? It's not just the training here, but also what happens outside. And there's a culture that you're trying to build inside the gym too, right? You want to have everyone who comes in here. That's what they enjoy. They like that there's this good, positive team environment, and it's toxic free. And I warn every new student whenever they sign up. I tell them that I'm like, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. I got to accept them as a student too, basically, right? Yeah.
So you're saying you focus more of like the culture itself on all aspects, because you want people to be together in your gym. You want to be like community oriented, you know?
Yeah, I want them to feel welcome. I think that's like the biggest, one of the biggest problems people do when they go into another boxing gym. They feel intimidated, you know, being surrounded by people who are very strong and they're athletes. So you want to feel welcome, whether you're a beginner, whether you're very experienced. And we get the best world, you know, the best of both worlds here. Students, they make new beginners feel welcome, and I think it's overall a good environment here. I'm
100%.
trying to keep it that way.
Yeah. From my experience, I feel like more. Like I enjoy it to train whenever like there's a good culture in it, there's like a good vibe and good energy, good people. And as you said, like sometimes like people may be really good boxers or really good at something, and then just the vibe isn't there. Like it's like there's a sense of disconnect with the gym, you know?
Yeah, and that comes from the coach too.
Yeah,
that definitely comes from your leaders. So if there's something that happens inside the gym and he doesn't catch it, right? If one or two or any of the coaches, they don't catch that, then those problems start occurring, right? The lack of communication and all those toxic things. So that culture, I think, starts from the coach and the owner first, and he sets it. You know, he sets that layout, the foundation.
Absolutely, yeah. As a coach, you got to do that. How do you like? I'm sure it probably happened in your gym. It's like, how do you handle like tension? Maybe some people are sparring and there's like some tension and some, you know, aggressive, you know, behavior. Like, how do you handle that as a coach?
If what we're doing is light sparring and there's tension, right, and they don't listen, follow instructions, in any kind of tension, I try to keep it private. I don't try to, you know, because then I'm gonna look at fault, right? If I just explode and out on my students.
Yeah.
So I try to call, you know, I definitely call them in. I say, hey, come here. Pull them in, talk to them privately, you know, maybe whether I'm whispering at them or whatnot, but I'm looking at them and I tell them, both of them at the same time, you know, I tell them, this is how we're supposed to do it, this is what you're doing. If you don't like it, you're going to go down, you're going to get out of the ring, and you're going to do something else, period. I don't try to make it, I don't try to set an example and I embarrass them in front of their other teammates, but if something does happen, any type of tension here, I try to keep it private, you know, and I put them in closed doors and I explain to them exactly what they did wrong, you know, and what they need to do to fix it.
Yeah, that's very important, because I feel like whenever it becomes personal in a way, like especially at your own gym, it's not the most healthy environment, because if you can, you know, just be authentic, be, you know, yourself, and, you know, be real with your teammates or coach, it's a difficult place to grow, you know? And I'm sure you experienced that for yourself.
Yeah.
You've had like plenty of coaches and mentors in the past.
Yeah.
What's something that, you know, one of them or multiple, like some of them, they told you that stuck in your head, like you always keep in your mind?
This is a hobby. This boxing, this gym, everything that you do, it's always a hobby. So do it out of passion. Don't think it's a business. Do it because you love it. Do it because you love being in it, right? It's a passionate thing. So I think that's like the biggest thing that stuck with me. That make sure it's your hobby, not your job.
Do it for the love.
Yeah, 100%.
Where do you see your gym in a couple of years? The vision behind your, you know, gym.
The vision, I definitely want to see myself being in a much bigger studio, in a much bigger gym, and we're headed down that route. Whether I want 2 or 3 different locations, you know, the gym will do the deciding on itself, right? So everything I put in here, the gym decides itself. We take it every day by day. You know, the students tell me what they want, and we just, you know, take it by, you know, like that.
If you had to give one advice for someone who's trying to get into martial arts, what would it be?
I would say take it day by day. All right, that's really what I want to say. Baby steps. Take it slowly. Don't rush into it. When they say less is more, that's really what it is. You don't want to try too hard. Take it slow, and then the rest of it will be a lot easier.
Just flow and go with the process.
Yeah, flowing. Just be like water.
Of course. Was it like Bruce Lee who said that?
Bruce Lee,
yeah. No, that's true. Like you got to be able to adapt, as you said, adapting, going, you know, step by step. But Tigran, it was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for everything. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
I'm sure the viewers learned a lot too. So
yeah, I learned a lot too. I'm not that well at doing podcasts.
more to go. More to go. 100%, of course.
Thanks, Abel.